Thank you, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for this opportunity to say hello to the District 8 Roundtable and sort of give you kind of an overview, not just of me and what I do, but obviously if you have any questions about what's going on in Washington, D.C., be happy to answer those and have a good conversation about that. But this area here is in, as you heard, the 19th Congressional District. And the 19th Congressional District, I'm sorry to say, is not a San Jose district. It's not a Santa Cruz district. It's not a Monterey district. It's not a northern San Luis Obispo County district. It's an all-of-the-above district. It's a very diverse, very dynamic, very big district that takes a lot of driving up and down Highway 101, let me tell you, in order to serve the district. But it's something that I'm proud to do and honored to do as a U.S. representative. And then just to kind of give you an overview, if we have these brochures for you, in there is a map, and it shows what is your 19th Congressional District. Look, I say that because, as Pat said, it came into existence after the census and the redistricting of 2022. And I'm sorry to say that there's still a lot of people who don't know what the congressional district consists of. So that is why I'm going to explain it. And that the most northern point is Lake Cunningham, Calabunga, as I like to say, right on the northern border. That's the most northern point of the congressional district. Then for South San Jose, it's got obviously Evergreen, Silver Creek, Edenvale, Santa Teresa, Blossom Valley, Almond Valley, Coyote Valley. So that's kind of the swath of South San Jose that's in our congressional district. But it doesn't end there. Then it goes up over the hill down into Santa Cruz. And it has all of Santa Cruz County except Watsonville. Then you keep on going south all the way down the Monterey County coastline. Gets really narrow on the Big Sur coastline all the way to, where Hearst Castle is. Cambria, just past Hearst Castle. You hit Cambria and then you take a hard turn east to the Kern County border, with Atascadero being the most southern town. So it kind of looks like a lazy L or a moon or a banana, however you want to say it. But like I said, it's a pretty big, pretty diverse district that takes either driving up and down Highway 1 or Highway 101 to serve all of it. Now, I live in Carmel Valley, right in the center of the district, right there about 14 miles inland from Carmel. Where I grew up in Carmel Valley, I was lucky enough that my Italian immigrant grandfather, who came through Ellis Island in 1921, we've taken our two daughters to see the ledger that he signed as an immigrant back then. He had $5 to his name. That's all he had in his pocket. And his title, his occupation, what they put as his occupation was peasant. Now, I think that meant farmer back then, from southern Italy and Calabria. I think that meant farmer. But he made his way across. He visited his brothers into the copper mines in Sheridan, Wyoming. In fact, someone visited my office the other day and said, "Do you have relatives in Sheridan, Wyoming?" And I said, "Absolutely, we do." But fortunately for me, he got the hell out of Wyoming and ended up in L.A. and then worked his way up. And I think he was comfortable with all of the Italians that were in the fishing industry down in Monterey. And he ran a restaurant there during the war years. And it made a good penny, and it was a time when he cooked. My Nonna Melina, my grandmother, ran the till, the cash register, and my uncle and my dad were busboy and dishwasher. I mean, back then, child labor meant your children actually worked, which they did. And then he sold the restaurant and bought the property out in Carmel Valley, some land out there, and built the house that my mom and dad, that he was raised in, that I and my two older brothers were raised in, and that my mom and dad still live in to this day. And then my wife and I live just about 2 miles past them. But often when I was growing up, and part of the reason why I'm in this position was, growing up, my dad would always ask my grandfather why he came to this country, why he took that risk that many of your family members did, or your grandparents did, or maybe even some of you did, to come here. And the answer was always the same out of my grandfather: to give his children a better life. And I think we firmly believe that that kind of is the American dream. But what I was always told by my parents was, because we were allowed to live the reality of that dream, then you damn well better give back to the country and community that gave you so much. And so even though growing up, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, I kind of always had that in the back of my head. And so in high school, I wasn't academic like our two daughters are. Trust me, they take after their mother. I played sports. I was athletic. Played sports, wrestled, played football. But then once I graduated high school, just like my two older brothers, we kind of realized we weren't that good of athletes. So all three of us went to our local, we called them junior colleges back then, community college, MPC, Monterey Peninsula College. And that was there where we kind of got straight. We pivoted from athletics to academics, and basically had time to realize that you got to work full time, and we paid our way through college. They went to Berkeley, I went to UC Davis. Took a couple years off, worked back in Washington, D.C., was an intern, worked up in Alaska on a ship doing some hydrographic research, and then I went to Santa Clara Law School. Figured that was the right thing to do, not knowing I wanted to be an attorney, but I thought it would be a good education to have. So I went to Santa Clara Law School, and I was lucky enough that I found the Alameda County District Attorney's Office, where I was a prosecutor for about 13 years, minus the year I was deployed to Afghanistan. Naval Reserve, mobilized, deployed to Afghanistan as an intelligence officer, where I served with a special forces unit there, and we were doing some targeting of high-value individuals. Came back and realized that Alameda, as great as it was up there, I'd met my wife by this point. She was a judge. She became a judge at this point. We had two daughters. It just wasn't home for me. And Carmel Valley was home with the tradition that we had there and the roots that my grandfather and my family planted. I figured it was time to go back home. So I went back home and worked at the DA's office there. And fortunately, this position opened up and I ran for office back in 2016. And so I've been a member of Congress, as you heard from Pat, since 2017 when I took the oath, and then redistricting happened in 2020, and now I'm the proud representative of the 19th Congressional District. So just to kind of give you an overview of where I am, how I came here, and why I'm standing in front of you, because I'm the proud representative of the 19th Congressional District, which, like I said, is a pretty big dynamic district, but I'm proud to represent it in government. Now, as I look at this job, there's sort of three legs to the stool of being a U.S. Congress member that I've come to appreciate. The first one is legislation. What can we do to pass laws into existence that actually affect us here in the 19th Congressional District? So one, legislation. To give you a sense of some of my pieces of legislation, I am all about the 19th Congressional District. And the biggest issue here in the 19th Congressional District is affordable housing. And I think everybody from South San Jose to Santa Cruz to Monterey and even down in Atascadero and Paso Robles will tell you affordable housing is the number one issue. So what can I do at the federal level to enhance more affordable housing? I'm on the Ways and Means Committee. Some call it the most powerful committee in Congress, but it's mainly because it's the only committee that's written into the United States Constitution. And so we have purview over the tax code, over trade, over Medicare, and over Social Security. So very impactful areas that we're able to be in charge of being on the Ways and Means Committee. Now with affordable housing, what I've found is using the tax code to not penalize, but to incentivize more affordable housing. How do I do that? Well, let me give you one bill that I'm leading right now that I authored, a bipartisan bill. I have a Republican partner that is working with me on this bill, and it has to do with capital gains and taxes on capital gains of home sales. So let me just tell you, you guys all know the situation where if it's not you, it's somebody you know. You bought your home, and you've had your home since the 70s, 80s, 90s, even early 2000s. And the price of that home, especially here in South San Jose, has shot through the roof. You also may have grown out of that house and you want to sell that home, but then you looked at the potential for the taxes that you're going to pay on your capital gains, the profits that you're going to make, and it is a lot. Now there's an exemption to certain amounts of taxes of those capital gains, $250,000 if you're a single filer, $500,000 if you're a joint filer. That's not enough based on the profits that you make because your home shot up in price. I just wrote a simple bill after my conversations with people up here in South San Jose. Just double those numbers. Make it $500,000 for a single filer and $1 million for a joint filer so that you can protect your nest egg, so that seniors who want to move out of their home and sell their home can protect that nest egg and use it to either downsize or use it for their health care in their late ages. Something that's pretty straightforward, but something I can do on the Ways and Means Committee, doubling the capital gains tax exemption on home sales. Second bill that I have is to bring back the first-time home buyers tax credit. When my wife and I bought our first home up, and we were young prosecutors up in Alameda County, we got that $10,000 tax credit. That went away in '06. I want to bring it back and make it $15,000, just so you can give people that starter home and give them a break in their federal taxes if they buy a home. And the third bill that I've written that I think is very applicable to the number one issue is making sure there's workforce housing. Look, I'm all for low-income housing and low-income housing tax credits to incentivize the development of low-income housing. It's called LIHTC, if you've heard of that. But you know what? There's a lot of people in this area, in the 19th Congressional District, that work and make too much to qualify for low-income housing. So where's their housing? They have to commute in from outside of San Jose to basically work here. And we have too many people who work in our communities but don't live in our communities. I want them spending more time in our communities and not just in their commutes. And so I've written a bill, bipartisan bill, and working with Senator Ron Wyden out of Oregon, that creates a middle-income housing tax credit for those who make, right here, not low income, but right here, right in the middle, that there's development incentives so that there's more middle-income workforce housing. These are just a few of the things that I'm doing to give you a sense to address the number one issue in the 19th Congressional District when it comes to affordable housing. What are the other issues? Obviously, health care. Health care is broken right now, I may say so. Now, it's surviving, and it's there, but it's expensive. And even if you have coverage, you can't find a doctor that will accept your coverage. Now, right now, I think we need to shore up Medicaid, which is also known as Medi-Cal here in California. And unfortunately, the bill that you may have heard of that was passed in a purely partisan fashion, the One Big Beautiful Bill, was the biggest cut to Medicaid in our nation's history based on the requirements that they put in place. And so I believe we need to restore what was done when it comes to Medicaid so that it's there for those people who need it the most in our congressional district. Second, the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, otherwise known as Obamacare, okay? Now, during COVID, we wanted to ensure that people had access to the ACA. What we did is give them tax credits, federal tax credits, so that they can afford paying for the Affordable Care Act. We've then extended those tax credits after COVID because we saw how beneficial it was for people to buy into the Affordable Care Act. Unfortunately, with this majority in charge of the United States Congress, they did not extend those tax credits. I believe we should extend them and at least have the foundation right now as a temporary fix for maintaining the ACA and, more importantly, maintaining people's access to the Affordable Care Act. So fix Medicaid as it was, make sure people can get on the Affordable Care Act, and also another area that people use quite a bit in the 19th Congressional is Medicare. Looking around this room, there's probably some of you who are on Medicare, and so what I've found and what I've heard throughout the 19th Congressional District is that although people have Medicare, they can't find doctors who will accept Medicare. And the reason being is that Medicare, ever since its creation, never kept up with inflation. And so it's not reimbursing our doctors that much. And so they're saying, I'm not taking it. And what's happening is doctors are moving into the most beautiful congressional district in the nation, your congressional district, thinking they were going to love to work here and serve the patients here and live here, but they get here and they realize they can't afford it. Community Hospital of Monterey Peninsula is giving doctors, as a signing bonus, keys to a house, their own home. And they think this is great, and they get there and they live here for a couple of years, they turn in those keys. They can't afford to live here because they're just not making enough when it comes to being reimbursed by Medicare. So I have a bipartisan bill with Republican Dr. Greg Murphy from North Carolina. We basically make sure that the Medicare reimbursements are up at least 50% and tagged to inflation, which is so important because we believe we need more doctors here to accept Medicare. So affordable housing, affordable health care, and then, of course, protecting our environment is something that I want to continue to do. Obviously, I feel very lucky, and I think we all should, that along our coast, one of the most beautiful coasts in the nation, if not the most beautiful coast, there are a lot of protections in place. We have the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary that really runs the whole span from Santa Cruz all the way down to northern San Luis Obispo and then some. And we're lucky those protections are in place. But we have an administration, though, in charge right now that would do everything and anything, if it could, to open it up to offshore oil drilling and put offshore oil rigs onto that coast. I'm doing everything I can to fight back and make sure that our coastline is protected. I'm also big into habitats for our monarch butterflies, something that's sort of an icon for the Central Coast, especially when it comes to Santa Cruz and Monterey and Pacific Grove. As you know, those numbers are shrinking. I've passed a bill into law to enhance habitats for butterflies, especially monarch butterflies, realizing that those are crucial when it comes to our agriculture as well, in making sure that they continue to exist. So these are just a couple of the things that I've led on when it comes to legislation so that the people here of the 19th Congressional District are benefited. Now, what you realize, though, those types of bills, they can't just pass based on support at the local level. It's got to be throughout the country. They're national bills, they're federal bills, and we're working on that as well for a lot of them. So, one, legislation. Two, making sure the power of the federal purse is felt right here. Now, just this morning at 11 o'clock, I announced a federal grant of $1 million for the revitalization of the Guadalupe River Trail from Chenoweth down to Lake Almaden. Minor things like that, making sure the power of the purse is felt locally, helping out our city council members. I've worked well with Councilmember Candelas, and we got close to hold on a second. We got a large grant that was in here, I think it was $850,000, to revitalize Lake Cunningham. Just recently, we announced funding $2 million to rebuild the Yerba Buena pedestrian bridge that's been closed down ever since 2023. We then also got $500,000 to help end sideshows here in South San Jose, provide the police department with funding so that they can battle those. And then we got $250,000 for Marshall Cottle Park as well. We got $500,000 for the Blossom Hill Senior Housing, that new housing project for seniors over there on Blossom Hill Road. And we received $1 million, worked with Mayor Matt Mahan on the Rue Ferrari Emergency Interim Housing Site as well. And then I got $800,000 for the Coyote Space Open Preserve Accessible Trail. These are just a few of the things that I've been doing. This is just South San Jose, but I've been doing a number of areas throughout the 19th Congressional District where we're able to fight for these types of community-funded projects, and the power of the purse is felt right here. So, again, legislation, funding, and the third thing is making the federal government work for you. If you got a problem with the IRS, you call that 1-800 number and you get to a point where no one's picking up the damn phone, call my office. I can't stress this enough. IRS, Social Security, VA, immigration, as we just talked about earlier. You're about to go on a trip and you forgot to look at your dang passport and you realize it's expired, you call our office. We'll get you an emergency appointment so that you can get your passport and get on your way out of here. Look, I firmly believe that these types of things, I get it. They're not sexy. I'm not on TV yelling and screaming about legislation and funding and casework for you. That's just not sexy anymore. But you know what? It's my damn job. That's what I'm here to do. And so I start off this conversation just to kind of give you a sense of where I come from, why I'm here, and what I do in this job is serving the 19th Congressional District. And let me make it clear. I will work with anybody who helps me serve the people and the values of our home here in the 19th Congressional District. But at the same time, I will fight anybody that threatens our values and the people of the 19th Congressional District. And as you can imagine, it's been a little bit challenging with this administration because there are a lot of things that this administration is doing, I believe, that are threatening our way of life and threatening our democracy. That being said, I can walk and chew gum at the same time, okay? I can continue to push back on this administration as much as possible as I need to, but I'm not going to let it take away from my service to the people of the 19th Congressional District, because I got a job to do, and I look forward to continuing to do it. So I just kind of wanted to give you an overview, because this is the first time, Pat, that I've been able to speak to at least the roundtable of District 8. I know a few of you from our past interactions. Sukhdev and I have had a lot of interaction up at the Gurdwara, and I appreciate your support and allowing me to get into that community and be there for them. But I haven't been able to meet in front of you based on the schedule. So I just kind of wanted to give you a foundation of what I'm about, where I'm from, and why I'm here. I know you have a lot of questions, as you should, when it comes to what's going on, be it with DHS, what's going on with the war in Iran, and so many other things, like I said, that this administration is doing, and more importantly, what Congress is not doing and should be doing when it comes to living up to our Article 1 responsibilities. I firmly believe that. But at the same time, like I said, I'm all about making sure we get stuff done in the United States Congress. I will be the first to tell you, I'm not in the entertainment industry, okay? That's not my job. I'm in the legislation industry. I'm there to serve and work as best as I can. And like I said, I'll work with anybody. Just to give you a sense of what I'm about, if you can imagine, there are people that actually, groups that actually keep score of congressional members' bipartisanship, their will to work across the aisle to get stuff done. There is this one organization called bridgescore.org, and it rates the bipartisanship of congressional members, 435 congressional members. I'm proud to say that I'm number one. I'm number one. I'm number one. Now, don't get me wrong. I will never give up my values at all when it comes to serving this district. But like I said, I will work with anybody that helps me serve this district. And I think I'm proving that, not just through that rating, but also through my work and what I've done in regards to my legislation, in regards to federal funding, and like I said, casework. I have 4 district offices. That's more than most members of Congress. Obviously, I have one in Paso Robles because that area is so kind of separate down that I think it was important to have an office there. I have a Monterey office, I have a Santa Cruz office, and I have a San Jose office over on Blossom Hill Road. Alyssa Garcia Marquez runs my San Jose office, and she is helped out by another young lady named Alice Yoon, who they both work there. I also do office hours quite a bit. I'm not sure if some of you have signed up for my emails, but you see, when it comes to San Jose, I'm here pretty often, and the way that I've kind of figured out to get into communities is just put myself out there and say, I'm here. I'm here. You got something to talk to me about? I have about 3 hours. I think this Saturday we're doing it right across the street. Or no, we're doing it up at the square, the library at the square up there, up in Evergreen, up there. What's the square called? Yeah, Evergreen Village Square. Yeah. So we're going to be doing office hours up there, 11:30 to 2:30 up there. But I think that's important for people to know that I've been here. Look, when I first was running for the 19th, I talked to Supervisor Wasserman, and I said, Mike, tell me, what should I be doing? And the first thing he said, without any hesitation, was neighborhood associations. I said, really? Anything else? Second thing he said, neighborhood associations. I said, anything else? Neighborhood associations. So we've been trying to get in front of neighborhood associations as much as possible. I just met with the Cahalan Neighborhood Association president before this. And because to me, I realize how important neighborhoods are to the people here in San Jose. That's why this is so important to be here and be in front of you tonight. So like I said, I think I've given you a pretty good overview, not just of your congressional district, but how I serve and want to continue serving your congressional district. And I hope that gives you a good perspective. But I'd love to open it up to see if you have any questions about what's going on in Washington, D.C., and what else I can do for you. Please, sir.
So, first of all, the body cameras, really?
This is not a body camera. Trust me, I'm not a police officer, and I'm not ICE either, who should be wearing body cameras, but it's just a microphone. And I wouldn't wear it, but this guy wants to record this stuff, so.
Just like everyone else.
Yeah.
No, it's so listen, so speaking of ICE, what's your sketches of views on what's going on currently, the way they've been operating throughout the countries?
Yeah, look, so I'll just kind of put it as an overview. Right now, what we're seeing is DHS is quote unquote shut down, okay? Why is there, if you can imagine, I mean, I know it's really not pressing right now, but you know DHS is shut down. Now, in Congress, there are 12 appropriations budget. We've passed 11 out of 12. The 12th is the DHS budget. Now, under DHS is ICE, is CBP, but also FEMA, TSA, Coast Guard, and Cyber Command. So right now, per our budget, those are not being funded. Just for this year's budget, though, okay? I say that because you'll understand why I say that. Now, as you know, with this administration's mass deportation policy, they've overreached. They've gone too far. Don't get me wrong. As a former prosecutor, I worked with ICE, especially when it came to violent felons that I was prosecuting, and we would prosecute them. We would put an ICE hold on them, and once we convicted them, then ICE would deal with them. I believe, and I think the president had a lot of support when he was targeting gang members and targeting felons. However, again, he overreached, especially when it came to what we all witnessed in Minneapolis. When you had American citizens getting killed at the hands of, I will say this, untrained ICE and CBP, Customs and Border Patrol officers. The reason being is because they got in over their skis and they got way too aggressive in a number of ways. In Minnesota, they sent in 3,000 ICE and CBP agents just to Minneapolis. To put that in perspective, Minneapolis only has a police force of 400 people. It just tells you how many untrained ICE agents were in there. Why do I say they're untrained? Based on what we saw on the videos, how they were acting, how they were targeting people just based on race. I say that not just on what we saw on the news, I say that based on the stories I heard from a number of people. In that, even one guy I knew, just a quick little story, because this really just, for some reason, this put it in perspective for me. He's Lebanese. He's been in this country 20 years. He's an American citizen. And he told me that this was back in Maryland, that he was going to buy, his daughter wanted this book. And so he went to Walmart to buy the book. He bought the book and he was exiting the store. And some ICE agent, dressed up in his paramilitary outfit with his mask on, approached him and said, "You an American citizen?" And the guy said, "Absolutely I am. What's it to you?" And the ICE agent backed off. But that type of racial targeting is based on the lack of training that these ICE and CBP agents had. In addition to that, they were acting with impunity based on the fact, and you saw that based on the reactions of this administration to the killings that we saw, emboldening them to act in this aggressive manner without any worry about implications and consequences for their actions. So based on them being untrained, based on how they were acting, based on the impunity that this administration was giving them, when it came down to fund ICE and CBP any further, I said no. The Democrats said no. It was not going to happen. Now, another reason we did this is because they're already being funded. Not by this year's budget, but by the one big, beautiful bill that allocated $191 billion with a B to DHS. 61 billion went to ICE. A significant amount went to CBP. Guess how much FEMA got? 2.3 billion. That's it. considering all the natural disasters we're getting. So we basically said, until you reform ICE and CBP, we're not going to give them one more damn cent. And what I mean by reform, take off the masks, turn on the cameras, as you talked about. Do not target people based on race. Get proper training and not just 47 days of training. 47 in homage to the 47th president, if you knew that. Make sure they actually cut it back to 47 days rather than the 3 months that they were supposed to have. Do not target sensitive locations. Churches, schools, polling places, stay away. When it comes to warrants, you damn well better have a judicial warrant signed by a judge and not an administrative warrant for an arrest if you're going to go into people's houses. When it comes to uniforms, make sure they're all uniform and everybody looks the same, and make sure you have proper identification. Those are just some of the commonsensical demands, protocols, and procedures that we're asking for at this point. Because I believe that if you're going to call yourself law enforcement, then you damn well better act like law enforcement. I was a prosecutor, like I said, for almost 20 years. I worked with some really good officers. All of them had training. All of them understood what it meant to uphold the law and make sure we do what's right by the law, for the most part. Obviously, you have your bad apples no matter what profession you're in. But I just felt it's important, based on what I saw, that if these guys, if you're going to send them into the streets, if you're going to send them to do deportation policies, if you're going to have them deal with protesters, you got to be properly trained. You got to act in the right way, because we've seen the deadly consequences of it. So right now, what we're asking for are these reforms. And if you're not going to give us these reforms, then let's go ahead and fund TSA, fund Coast Guard, fund cyber, and fund FEMA, and then we'll cut out ICE and CBP. They're already getting funded anyway from that OBB, that one big beautiful bill, and then we can talk about actual reforms. In addition to that, I'm a part of this group called the Problem Solvers. It's 25 Democrats and 25 Republicans that actually get together every week. And we talk about things, and we get to know each other. And one of the things we talked about in our meeting this week, and actually agreed to, is a framework for reforms. And we're going to put this together and send it to the administration and send it to our leadership and say, see, here are some outlines of the areas of these protocols and procedures that Democrats and Republicans can agree on. Let's work on legislation to put this forward so that we can reform ICE and CBP. So look, I think it's important that we have border security. I think it's important that we have immigration enforcement, but it has to be trained properly. They have to abide by it. They can't overreach, and you can't target people the way they were doing it. And so I hope that we can get to that point where we have these proper reforms and procedures put in place, because what we saw was something that I don't think any American should stand for.
No special allowances, especially for people come and go, one particular country, or that was agree with their public meetings.
Well, I mean, I think you're talking about how the administration is approaching certain countries based on that. Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, I think the way this administration is going about its deportation policy is very destructive, not just to individuals, not just to our economy, to be honest with you, but I think to our humanity and what we stand for as a country. I've always pushed for common sense immigration reform. Obviously, having grown up on the Central Coast, having represented the 19th Congressional District, I value immigrants and their contributions when they're law-abiding and hardworking to not just our economy, but to our communities and to our society. And so I'm a big proponent of immigration reform, and that means securing our border. It means redoing our asylum system a little bit so that there's not as many loopholes as we saw being taken advantage of during the Biden administration, but at the same time, legalization for people who are here and who have contributed so much to what we stand for as an economy and as a community and ultimately as a country.
The key word is the Senate of us, was deal with humanity.
Absolutely. Now, I appreciate that. Thank you. She had her hand up first, and then I'll come to you, okay?
That's all right. Thank you. No, my question's still being in here. So I'm Carly. Yeah, I just
Get that?
those things not going to be.
Okay. Okay, we'll come to you next.
Still, about a decade ago, I read a book by Lee Peterich, and sort of a decade over when I get it. And in the book, we spend
To my Senate counsel.
80% of the U.S. population is for immigration.
Yeah.
And so that was 20, 30 years ago. And I researched it a little bit.
Yeah.
And how biased it seems to be against the countries that border the United States. And it just doesn't seem like there's ever been any real immigration reform.
Well, absolutely. There hasn't been since 1986, when we had a Republican president, Ronald Reagan, and a Democratic House, Tip O'Neill, that actually worked together on immigration reform. And that's why our system's broken right now, because we haven't kept up with the times and the demand and the influx and the flows of migrants coming in and out of the country. And that has forced people to basically risk everything to come here. I mean, look, I think we understand, and we always want people to desire to come to the United States, okay? Because we are the greatest country in the world. We provide the opportunities for people to come here. As I heard, and that's part of the reason why I told you my story of where I come from, I value immigration, and I value hard work and making sure that we continue to provide these types of opportunities. Ever since I got to Congress, obviously being from the Central Coast, like I said, I valued the immigrants' contributions to what we stand for. Obviously, the contributions to our #1 industry, even in the 19th Congressional District, agriculture. We have fresh fruits and vegetables. We don't have the crops where you can send a machine through the fields. It takes a human discernment to lift up a plant, pick the right strawberry that's aesthetically pleasing and the right size, and then properly put it into a clamshell so that it's efficiently packed. Technology hasn't caught up with that. And so we need immigrants to do the jobs that no Americans will do. And that's especially in agriculture. We need immigrants for our hospitality. We need immigrants for our healthcare workers. These are people who are willing to come here and work hard. And so, and protecting our dreamers, those who were brought here at no fault of their own. We have to make sure that there's a legal way for them to stay here and continue contributing here. I've worked on that. I've supported border security, but at the same time, we have to have legalization for those who contribute here. The H-1B visas is another issue which we need more of. Unfortunately, there's a lottery system now, and it's limited to 100,000 a year. That's not enough. There needs to be more H-1B visas for people to come in here and work on our second major industry here in the 19th Congressional District, the technological sector. And so, and you'll talk to anybody in the tech companies, they need more bodies to do that. So look, I think when it comes to immigration reform, like I said, border security, redo the asylum system, and make sure there's legalization for people who have worked here, who have been here. They may be in an undocumented status right now, but give them that opportunity to continue staying here and working here. Now look, the reason why there hasn't been anything done in my time is the politics of it. I've had 4 years of President Trump, 4 years of President Biden, and going on the second year of another Trump administration. Immigration has been the most politically toxic issue I've dealt with in my time. It's also very policy complicated as well. But I can tell you, politics are what drive it. We actually had a deal by Republican James Lankford and Chris Murphy last December, or 2 Decembers ago, if you remember, in which they were reforming the asylum system. Didn't really deal with legalization, but it was a first step in doing something. And guess who killed it? Donald Trump. He said, I want the policy, I want the political issue, don't give it to them. And basically killed that. So unfortunately, you have people in positions of power, of leadership, that are not leading on this issue. And I can tell you, the one person who will absolutely kill any sort of immigration reform is Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is basically what's driving this anti-immigration sentiment coming out of the White House. I actually believe, and I've said this, that if we could do immigration reform, I think this president could do it. I think this president could give coverage to a lot of the Republicans that I work with to actually do something on immigration reform. Because it's so politically toxic, thanks to him, he could actually tone down the politics and let them know that he wants to do something. I don't think Stephen Miller will ever let the president do it. Because what we're seeing in this DHS policy with this mass deportation policy that we've seen, that wasn't Kristi Noem. Okay, Kristi Noem implemented it, but who's driving it was Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller's title is not only White House advisor, he's DHS special advisor. He wanted to make sure that we don't have any immigration whatsoever. He wanted to make sure that we'll kick out any and every immigrant possible that he believes shouldn't be here. That's been the problem. Like I said, to sum it up, way too complicated politics with immigration right now. But trust me, there are Democrats and Republicans who are actually working together on this. We just got to make sure that the administration actually is on board. Miss. Okay, that's fine. It's all right. We're good.
So I was thinking, having before, I just asked a question.
I'm with you, ma'am. Please.
So I'm Carmen. I'm co-chair of the Neighborhood Association. I want to take the legal first time back in our district. This even though I had after chair for 40 years, and it's first that way.
Good.
So one of the unsexy things up with the lending is help on is hopefully what cost these hundreds of millions of dollars, thousands of dollars. Simple thing is garbage can.
Say it again.
The garbage can.
Okay.
We have dumpster days, and we're limited. And sometimes people are in the garbage, or you stop their junk, and you don't have enough dumpsters to put them in. Sure. And so we have to send them back. The other thing is that our district, we don't have garbage cans out and about so that people can put their trash away. So we have a lot of litter randomly throughout. It does make the district look a little messy.
Yeah.
So it'd be great if you could work with me. Let's figure it out. I would love to know if you publish your calendar when we're going to be here. Is that on your website?
No, because we don't know. The problem is we don't know exactly what days we're going to be in San Jose versus San Luis Obispo or Monterey or Santa Cruz. But like I said, if you would sign up for my emails, I send those emails out. I let you know I'm here.
Get it off this time.
Yeah.
That's all right. But yeah, so that would be super helpful to consider out as you will. Because when I hear it, there's daily to work.
Yeah. And let me tell you, part of the reason why we do that is security purposes. But but let me tell you, if you want a meeting with me, I take meetings. I just came from a couple at my office. Call my office, call Alyssa, she will give you the contact information. You want to set up a meeting? I'll meet you. Okay? Trust me. In regards to garbage, look, as I've proven, I will work with Domingo. Domingo's been really good working with me on getting federal funding for these types of local issues that I talked about, be it Lake Cunningham, Yerba Buena Bridge, or the other things that I talked about. What you don't want, though, is the federal government getting involved with your garbage policy, okay? At all. I know, trust me, that wouldn't happen. But like I said, I've proven that I'm more than happy to willing to work with Domingo to see where the federal government can help out. If it is, it's just like homelessness. People say, you know, what can you do for homelessness? Absolutely. Look, what we do at the federal government, it's that power of the purse. I want the locals to figure out the programs. You don't want the federal government telling you guys how to run your homeless programs. The locals need to figure that out, but I'll be more than happy to fund that if it's working. Exactly. And so that's what we've been doing, and we'll continue to do that. But like I said,
Make sure he knows that too.
absolutely. On those local issues, Carmen, again, those are going to be driven by the city councilmen and women. But I will continue to support Domingo in any way I can because I think he's a homeboy, a local boy that's done really well, and he cares about this community, and I will always work with people like that.
He grew up across the street from my house.
Got it. Don't worry, we got a couple. Go ahead, man.
I'm Nicole Grants, founder of the Watkins Way Neighborhood Association. Thank you, Sachin. Thank you for your
we've met before.
ongoing enthusiasm for public service. My question is about taxes. Everything costs so much. Everything's so expensive. The kind of saving grace in my mind was this perception that my taxes would be going down now that party of fiscal responsibility is in power. My taxes went, the marginal tax rate went up 3%. 3%. That is thousands of dollars. And as Medicare went up $39, and our Social Security went down $23.
Yeah.
So all in, it's additional $1,800 a year just in federal. And I love this country. I think you're looking for the platforms. I don't have anything against paying taxes per se.
Of course.
Can you say anything from behind the scenes of what's going on there?
I mean, behind the scenes are what you see. I mean, back in 2017, once again, the Republican majority passed the TCJA, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, that provided a significant amount of tax cuts for the upper brackets of middle to upper brackets, to be honest with you. The One Big Beautiful Bill, once again, reconciliation, purely partisan Republican bill, extended those tax cuts, or was supposed to extend those tax cuts. But there were other areas in which they screwed with, to be frank, that are contributing to the increase in these types of taxes. That's why I believe we need to start looking at, obviously other areas in reducing that, either increasing that top income rate or making sure that everybody kind of has skin in the game. I don't like going after one group. I think everybody should have skin in the game when it comes to contributing to our country. I'm a big proponent of fiscal responsibility, especially when it comes to our federal debt and deficit. And I think there needs to be a fiscal commission to determine that, because unfortunately right now you have people in the United States Congress who govern by crisis and don't govern by leadership. They wait till there's a crisis. We're going to see a crisis in Social Security. That's how we're going to have to fix it. It's going to be a crisis in Medicare. That's how we're going to have to fix it. We got to stop governing by that and actually govern by leadership, and a fiscal commission would do that, and it would look at the tax rate of everybody and see whether or not we need more revenue, whether or not some areas have less revenue. But we also got to talk about cuts in spending at the same time. Let's at least have that conversation, and a fiscal commission would do it. But it's also why we have to look at other aspects of affordability, like I talked about with Medicare, what we can do there, and healthcare, but also affordable housing as well, making sure that people can get into homes and sell their homes and still keep some of their money without taking a huge hit on capital gains taxes. So there are a number of aspects to it, and I think I can't really speak to your specific instance. Obviously, you feel you pay too high of taxes. Like I said, I can't really tell you why, because I don't know what area or I don't know your income. But like I said, the Republicans promoted the One Big Beautiful Bill as tax cuts. And if you're not seeing it, it should tell you that there's some issues with that legislation, as we always talked about. Sir.
Thank you. I agree. I've been all over the world. This is still the best country in the world. Yeah. I have a request, and I'd like to express myself. I'd like to know if I could be referred to a good medical attorney that was not afraid to attack these institutions to help me before these timelines are up. Now, to express myself, we have a lot of problems with medical abuse of our Medicare system, and it's really upsets me. It's been at the cost of my mother's life.
Yes, sir.
As they'd sneak the Lasix pill away from her, so she'd have these congestive heart failures. They covered up the bed sores, and the whole small town was in on this with the lawyers, doctors, in the hospitals. And of course, I was dropped on the 11th month for the lawsuit. That's what goes on here. In this town, every ER in this valley, if you got a hangnail, you got to get a CT scan. We got to stop this stuff. How do you trust these folks?
Yeah.
With my wife, the dishonesty of the doctors made her last a couple years suffering with acid leaks and whatnot because of a dishonest doctor trying to do stuff. Can I get referred to a lawyer that can get at least the last 12 months in this stuff? Where I'd be even willing to put out a little bit, just so upset at this medical system. This is supposed to be our Medicare, and it's not supposed to be for them to make money on us and at the expenses of our bodies and souls and stuff.
Yeah. Understood, sir. And I think, and I'm sorry for the difficulties that you've gone through with your mother and with your wife, and that it's kind of bled over into what you've been dealing with. I think that's a result, basically, of our broken healthcare system right now. As much as we try to ensure that there is access to healthcare, But obviously it takes more than access, and it takes more than affordability at this point. It takes making sure that we have a system that covers everybody and does it properly. Obviously there is going to be a number of issues, no matter what healthcare system you're in, be it the United States or be it somewhere overseas. But I think when it comes to, you should know that we're trying to work on ways, like I said, to shore it up as the areas that I talked about. When it comes to your personal issues, we'd be happy to talk to you about that. I don't necessarily, our job is not to refer people to attorneys, but be happy to talk to you about any of the issues.
We've been set up for failure, so you got to go back.
Yes.
Now, I think it pissed some people off, but I learned how to nurse around this and got it through over the last 4 months.
Yeah, good for you.
But
Good.
I don't want them getting away with this.
Understood.
And I've approached lawyers, and it's you give this, you know, they don't have this high-rise full of lawyers. We surely have lawyers that would touch on some of this.
Understood. I think you're probably right. I always say I'm not a lawyer. I was a prosecutor, which I think is different. But I'd be happy to at least talk it through with you and see what options are out there. Okay. Thank you.
Village Square.
Yeah. Actually, Alyssa will give you our information, and so we can get. Actually, she will take your information and we'll reach out to you. Okay.
I would love to spend a whole day speaking in Washington.
I'm sure you would, sir. I'm sure. I believe it. I believe it. I believe
It's
it.
got to get cleaned up because it's killing us.
Understood.
Because they want, you got this honest folks that want to make some money.
Yeah.
They get so, how do you trust them? I mean, they're pulled that on me. I'm a credible witness. My son showed up at 4 in the morning. They're in as much pain as I was in. I'm almost done. Give me up to the VA. It's sad.
Okay. Hopefully, look, if the VA are here, this medical clinic here.
VA is, they have their issues.
I know.
They progress.
That's good.
They're working to get the job.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. And obviously, if you have any issue with the VA, you let me know. And then good. And then we know that this VA clinic here at Highway 101 and 85, I have a bill to name it the Pat Tillman Medical Clinic, which I think is important as well. So.
Same author.
It's not on there yet. Yeah. Sir?
I've been in the past at this church.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you for coming, and I'm so glad to hear your willingness to talk with people from other political parties and try to get people working together.
Try to, absolutely.
And this is my concern, is that there are always issues to be dealt with, and it's what you're dealing with too. But it seems that we've kind of lost our way in terms of our sense of value of people.
Yes.
I mean, you can do immigration reform, and if Stephen Miller has his way, which our president makes very clear, the other immigrants who are coming will be very wealthy, and they'll probably be very white.
That's correct.
They'll be from the European countries, and they want to come here anyways. But you know, that's immigration reform, but that doesn't get the point on how we view each other and how we can see ourselves as part of a global community.
Yeah.
They're willing to bring in people, as we have for centuries, of course, from the poor to the rich. You come in and do wonders. I mean, even Elon Musk came in as a student and he didn't have any money. And we probably wouldn't have allowed, based on what some of these ideas coming through, we probably wouldn't let it come in.
Yes, sir.
To study. But what I'm trying to get is how is in the Congress there could be some oppression. We're to get these issues ahead so the Congress can help present a different view of America and peaceful. I mean, my perception is that everyone in Congress should really just go on vacation for 12 months because the only voice I ever hear is the president.
Exactly.
And the head of the Republican majority of the House.
That's right.
And neither of them make much sense in the big picture.
Yeah.
And it's a lot to put on you. But
No.
how to get some movement here because with the elections coming in November, I'm afraid that everything's going to be about, dealing with the current president. We need to get beyond the current president, be thinking about our future and what we're going to become because we ain't going back. There's no way we can go back to be what we think we were. We have to somehow design and shape who we are going to be as a country. And you're in a key position of a voice, at least, to speak to all of the masses here and help us formulate what that should be.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. And it's absolutely understandable comment, I will say, about how you feel about the United States Congress. I say that because what you said about only hearing the president is true, especially when you have a Speaker of the House of Representatives that has abdicated his role as a leader and unfortunately degraded the Article I institution known as the United States Congress. I firmly believe that our founding fathers put Congress and the Senate as the Article I power in our Constitution because they wanted the people's voice to be heard through their representatives. Right now, in our binary system that we have, where it's a majority and a minority, the majority has all the power. It's the way the Congress is set up. And when you have a speaker that completely caves and kowtows and bends the knee to a president, all you are doing is not just degrading Congress, you're degrading what I sense from you, your belief and your faith in our democracy. And that's why I firmly believe that this Republican majority is going to be held to account come November, like you said. Now, I think people voted for Donald Trump. Part of the reason is because they liked his outside-the-box thinking. I'll be generous about it. And in Trump 1.0, they could rely on the cabinet members around him to sort of put up the guardrails. Trump 2.0, I think the cabinet's worse than the president, to be frank. And so I think people are looking to Congress to do that. But they're not seeing that whatsoever. And so I believe that either now or up until November, Republicans should start to stand up and be the voice not of one person, not lend this patina of legitimacy to the administration, but actually start speaking for their constituents. And if not, they're going to be held to account by their constituents because I think they're feeling the way you are. Be it Democrat or Republican, I think they rather have a strong democracy rather than a strong party. And so I think they're actually going to hold them to account, and you're going to see a change in the majority of the House of Representatives and who that is. I think what you said, and in regards to not hearing the minority party, is understandable as well. I've heard that ever since January 21st of 2025. And that people have said, what are you Democrats doing? And why aren't I hear you? And Hakeem Jeffries is not good. And what I go back to is Trump in the first Trump administration. And that when I first came into Congress, it was Republican Congress, Republican Senate, and a Republican in the White House. And I ask people now, I go, you remember Speaker Pelosi, correct? But he's like, yeah, of course, you bet. But then I say, do you remember Minority Leader Pelosi? Nobody does. Because those first 2 years when she was Minority Leader, I'll be frank, she wasn't that good. And the fact is that people in our Democratic Party wanted to run against her even. But man, once we took back the House, once we gave her the gavel, that's when she had agency. That's when she was able to sit behind Donald Trump and tear up the speech. That's when she was able to stand across the cabinet table and get that picture of her pointing at the president. That's when she was able to walk out of the White House and put on the glasses, as badass as she was, because she had agency to do that. And I believe that even though we will continue to have a Republican in the White House, we will have strong Democratic leadership with Hakeem Jeffries, because we're going to give him that gavel, we're going to give him that agency, we're going to get our voice back, and we're going to continue to push back. Now, let me tell you something, though. We cannot just be about vengeance and vindictiveness towards the president when we take power. Yes, we will have investigations, especially after the destruction that this administration has had on our democracy and on our institutions. But at the same time, we as Democrats have to talk about what the heck we're going to do. And that's why I started off by talking about the legislation that I'm focused on. The legislation we need to be focused on to focus on affordability issues, to fix our healthcare system, to fix our affordable housing system, to make sure that we have immigration reform, to make sure that we take back our power when it comes to this tariff policy that's killing small businesses here in the 19th Congressional District, to take back our power when it comes to reducing our debt and deficit. These are areas that I think we need to lean in on. Help working families. Heck, the minimum wage at the federal level, does anybody know what the minimum wage is at the federal level? $7.25. The least we could do is raise that. And so there's certain things that we need to be doing. Don't get me wrong. We're going to walk. We're going to chew gum. Okay, we can do two things at once. But it just can't be about taking down the president. All right, we have to be able to do both and making sure that we push back on the president, but continue to fight for those issues that are so important to us here in the 19th Congressional District and in the United States of America. I'm about 10 minutes over, but I'll take the last question from this lady. Just one question. And that's when I always get in trouble when I say one more question.
My name is Isabel. I'm an MPG, ethnic girl.
I'm sorry about you being a breaker. I was a proud Padre, man. So.
But I did know your dad.
Okay.
I was heavily entrenched in Portuguese.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, of course.
Well, my question is, this is District 8, and we are full of engineers,
Yeah.
technology people.
I'm learning.
How can we, District 8, help District Congress 19 to pass bills quicker? What is the typical lead time of getting funding? How can we, as a group, help you and your people, your office?
Thank you. Thank you so much for asking that. That means the world, and I appreciate that. And I think the biggest issue, what I say, and I think you'll find, is I'm very accessible. When you call my office, for the most part, we have people who pick up the phone when we have interns. But no, we answer our phone. I've been known as a very responsive office. And so I think I say that based on the fact that please reach out to me. We've had to reach out to council members to say, hey, we got federal funding here. Give me some ideas. Tell me how I can support you. They're not reaching out to me. I'm reaching out to them. A lot of these projects that I put in for, I think we're this next round, a couple bathrooms up at a park and a dog park here locally. Like I've submitted for that because I called Candelas and I said, dude, give me some projects I can fund. And we worked together. So it's been me reaching out to the city council, to the neighborhood associations, to doing office hours, injecting myself into the communities. Please come to me. Tell me what I need to know. I mean, we got a lot of crap coming at us right now as U.S. Congress members, all right? A lot of stuff is hitting us. The last thing I'd want is to miss something just because I didn't know about it. So please continue to reach out to us. Call Alyssa, get my information at 841 Blossom Road. Come to us, tell us how we can help you. Tell us how the federal government can play its part here in the 19th Congressional District, especially right here in South San Jose and in the Evergreen neighborhood. Be happy to do that. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for what you do, for being a part of this community. And look, you got to understand, right now, we're not seeing leadership from the top down, okay? The leadership is going to come from groups like this, from the ground up, making sure that we continue to come together and work together and stand together going forward. So seeing people come out on a Thursday night till 8:10 p.m. obviously says a lot about you, but more importantly, it says a lot about this neighborhood. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to be a part of it and look forward to continuing to serve you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Pat. Thank you. Thank you.